Grade 6 to 8, 1-point perspective galleries. This is part 1. We're going to begin by drawing the walls, floor, and ceiling in perspective by first creating a horizon line and vanishing point. You can use your ruler for this, or you can freehand it. I like to make sure that it's straight, so I measure up from my paper. I'm doing 4 inches, so I measure the bottom of my paper at the 4 and do a little dot at the 0 and connect the two dots with a line. And then I'm going to put my vanishing point in the middle, and my paper measures 11 inches, so I'm going to do it at 5.5. You can just eyeball it, but I'm going to measure it because, well, I'm a perfectionist. You can see me squabbling over the line over here. Oh well. Then we're going to sketch a large square around the vanishing point and on top of the horizon line. And you're not going to use the ruler first for this, just kind of eyeball it so it can be kind of squarish or rectangle. So I like to kind of very lightly go back and forth as you see me doing here. And it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. But if you wanted to, you could really get into it and measure it and do all of that. All right, and then I'm going to take my ruler and clean up those edges with a nice sharp line. And I just want to make sure that it's parallel to the tops and bottoms of my paper. So I want to check for accuracy. So that's what I'm going to do here in this next part. So using my ruler on the sketchy lines, just looking at my paper and the edges of my paper and my ruler to make sure it's straight. Looks pretty good. I was just measuring here just to see if it was about the same distance from the horizon line, which it is. Making that line straight, going up. Erasing any of the extra little sketchy lines. And I'm going to go ahead and erase the horizon line inside my square. We'll be erasing the other horizon line in another step. Okay, checking the measurement here. You can just eyeball it though, and making that line straight across and erasing any extra little lines, bits and pieces, fixing any little stray marks. And now we're going to use the ruler to draw converging lines from the vanishing point that intersect with each corner of the square and extend beyond the square. So I take my pencil on my vanishing point and I line up my ruler to the corners of the square. So I'm basically connecting my vanishing point to each corner of the square and drawing down all the way to the edge of my paper till it can't go any further. Vanishing point to the corner, done. Now you're going to erase the converging lines inside the square and the horizon line too if you didn't do that yet, and then you'll erase the rest of the horizon line, but you're going to leave the vanishing point where it is. And I'm using my nice big eraser for this because it's just so much easier than that flimsy little pencil eraser. So use the pink pearl, pink eraser, whatever you have to erase that. I'm just going to try to darken those lines a little to make sure you can see them. Great. Now I have the ceiling, the 2 walls, and the floor. I'm just going to put a W for the walls, a ceiling for the top, and an F for the floor. Now draw some canvases on the walls, keeping them in perspective. Okay. So now I'm just going to draw some vertical lines on the back wall. So this would be like the back wall that you'd be staring straight at. So I'm going to draw 2 parallel vertical lines, trying to keep them the same distance apart from the sides of my square. And then 2 parallel horizontal lines to make a squarish rectangle shape. And that is going to be 1 canvas that we will put some art on. And now I'm going to draw 2 more vertical lines. One will be shorter than the other because it's going to be on the wall, and the perspective is different than as if you were staring at it straight on. So I'm lining up my top and bottom of the line with the vanishing point to draw out those converging lines. And I might have a little extra line there. Then I draw my vertical going up, erasing the extra and connecting that converging line as much as I can. It goes off the page though. So there's another big canvas, and you see the closer it is to the back wall, the smaller it gets, and it's bigger at the where it would be front. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, but I'm going to make 2 canvases, so I skipped my line there. Lining up my ruler with the vanishing point, drawing a diagonal line here for the tops and bottoms of my canvases, making a little space in between to make 2. Now I do a vertical line. Again, this one's going to be shorter than the left side of the canvas here. Draw another one, erase the extra line. Now for my second canvas, which is going to be kind of a tall, skinny one. I could have just let it go off the page, which I may keep with that. All right. Now, if you want to make a floor, it's optional, but you can go for that. I'm going to do a wooden floor, so I'm measuring out 1 centimeter for each slat of wood. I line up my ruler with the vanishing point and each dot to draw each plank of wood. Vanishing point to the dot, vanishing point to the dot, vanishing point to the dot, vanishing point. Line it up with the dot, and you can see here, I go back and I'm going to fix it because I got misaligned there. So vanishing point to the dot, try to pay attention to what you're doing because you can mess it up, but you can always go back and erase, as you see I'm about to do here, and fix that one that was a little wonky. All right, which is why we want to draw lightly so that we can make sure we can erase any mistakes. Now I'm just going to eyeball it and throw in some horizontal short lines to make individual planks of wood. I'm doing about 2 per column of wood, row of wood, whatever you want to call it. So you could be more accurate with this, but I'm eyeballing it like I said. All right. And then once I'm done with that, that's enough for part 1 of this project. So I've got canvases on my walls, and the room is in perspective, and my horizon line is erased, as are that sort of large X that was inside my box. I'm going to keep my vanishing point for now. We might need it still. All right, next class, have your drawing, this very drawing with you, pencil, an eraser, and perhaps something to color with in case we get that far. I personally like using color pencils for this.